welcome into Philadelphia Walks PTSD. My name is Sharon Cole, or Sharon or Cole, whatever you want to refer to me as. Rat, pig, horse, cow, rhino, lizard, squirrel, dog. In a good way, don't care. They mean different things to different groups, and I've had like 8, 12, 15, 20 different factions of people who played some sort of game, which kicked off the 4th of January of 2011. And sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never hurt me, as they say. But anyway, what does hurt people is if you're riding a bike or a GoTrack scooter or what have you out there in the city, and people will pretend that they accidentally open their car door when someone's coming by. There aren't bike lanes on every single street in the city, and people have, who are riding bikes or what have you, are deciding like, how do I get to this point? I don't want to walk my bike 3 blocks just because there's no bike lane here, so, or 5 blocks or more. It's not perfect, the biking system or the lanes where you can use GoTracks, scooters, what have you, bikes. But anyway, there are people out here who I actually do believe they're willing to harm people or put them in grave danger. People will purposely sort of force people on wheels in certain directions, even in the bike lane. Even if you're in the bike lane, people will step out, and it's not always an accident. You can kind of tell that people do things as if they premeditated it, orchestrated it, or what have you. I've seen people I can talk about a story really quick a long time ago. This is before 2011. I was taking care of someone's dog. I still have this client today, but I was walking, say, on 9th Street from Lombard, walking north. And, I think I had just finished up walking a dog. And I saw a biker coming along, trying to decide, how to get past some of the traffic because there was a lot of traffic jammed up. And a guy he had a sports car, and he opened his sports car door. The biker was trying to come up on the driver's side instead of the other side because it was too crampy and everything. And as the biker was coming up, the guy opened his door, and this guy wailed right into the door. And I was like, wow, that was a really hard hit. That guy must be really hurting. And the driver was laughing, ROFL, laughing. And there was a woman in the passenger seat. And I remember thinking, like, my brain had to think, like, that I think the biker is actually hurt and not happy. And it's not like a stunt, like somebody just tried to pull off some stupid, jackass stunt or whatever. The driver is laughing uncontrollably. And he actually thinks it's hilarious that he got this guy hurt. Like, I was trying to figure out if there's something else going on. So usually people are upset or like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Or, or they get angry. Why are you riding your bike on this side? None of that. The driver just kept laughing and laughing, had like a red Corvette or similar. It was in that realm. But anyway, we'll get back to my usual spiel, which is today is 142 of my one video each day, 365-day campaign raising money for life lost, stolen, robbed, raped, tortured, psychological warfare and terror dumped on this poor little girl's ass. And I mean in a big ass way. I can't believe how bad this was and how much I had to sort of like keep functioning and like couldn't find justice. I turned to several different entities. No one was willing to step up to the plate, if you will, in the justice world or in therapy, only to a certain extent. I was visibly convulsing in a therapy office, like terrorized. And I think the person handling, who I happened to wind up with, she wasn't sure exactly what to do because they might have been trying to avoid pathologizing someone, but at the same time, there had to be other solutions to what began in 2011. So what happened was that on the 4th Monday of January 2011, I was made to believe I'd be murdered in my apartment. There was a series of orchestrated events. I had to realize like people actually orchestrate, almost like set the stage, create a movie, if you will. And I wondered if people could see into my apartment. And I had recessed lighting in my apartment, and recessed lighting became almost a mandatory thing. In fact, here they meet the requirement. They have one recessed lamp over there in the corner behind. That's like a sprinkler, and and then that's a recessed light. For this building, they had to meet the requirement, and that's all they needed for recessed lighting. But in other types of edifices or row homes converted to apartments or what have you, you might need more recessed lighting. You'll see a lot of new development which has recessed lighting, which means it looks like a can in the ceiling with lights. Had a dimmer switch, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, made to believe I'd be murdered in my apartment. The recessed lighting could feed paranoia because you would wonder, is there space between the lowered ceiling to allow for the recessed lighting and the actual ceiling? However it works, is there space up there for someone to hide a mini cam? You can call police out. It became a whole thing. I did call police the first night. So we'll go to my usual spiel. The fourth Monday of January 2011, I was terrorized in my apartment by a series of orchestrated events, which involves not necessarily seeing a person, but believing 100% that I'd be murdered because my laptop turned on by itself in the middle of the night, like 3:30 in the morning. There was ruckus right outside my window, enough for me to feel like someone was trying to break in, or I thought they broke in through the basement, which would be under where I lived. And also there was an idling van outside with a guy with a headset on. It took me a while. Like, I was startled at first because there was such noise and everything happened at once. Then I looked out, saw this guy in the van looking in the window and it looked all like creepy, spooky, suspicious. And then there was more noise or what have you. And I don't remember everything, but I do recall believing more than 1000% that it was the last night of my life. Called my sister first because I was worried that if I called the police, it would be rerouted through a special program to like the CIA or something. And I don't even think of these are entities I never would even like consider in the past. I had a whole different life. I was leading a positive life of running with a gay running group. I was volunteering with Team Philadelphia with a Sapphire Fund. I participated in dragon boat racing, and I had met some people in the years leading up to this. And I don't know if some of those people were might have been part of certain groups. I don't know what they were doing, but I do believe they can float thoughts and make people believe things. But it has to be coupled sometimes with an experience. So they can plant seeds in advance also, because there would be another night when my mom came up, because I begged my mom to come up to visit, and I thought there were like for a second, I'm like, are there snipers in the 3rd story windows across the street from where I was living? And they would just shoot out 2 people at once. Part of the reason I thought of snipers is because people I had known who I walked dogs for, the one who used to be a principal for a school here, a charter school, Chad or what have you, no longer exists. Charter High School of Art and Design. You get it, design. Her brother, she said, one of her brothers was like the #1 sharpshooter in the nation, and was a ranger. I guess she was telling me the truth. I have no idea. I just believed her. She was raised in Germany, even though she's an American person. She was raised mostly in Germany and then came over here. She went to my alma mater, University of Delaware, after I did. So she was younger than I was. But anyway, see how she planted a seed? And then I actually believe that I would have never thought that. I would have never thought like, oh, there's snipers so it has to be kind of fed or downloaded, if you will. It's hard to explain. You might wonder like how you came up with something like some sort of thought or whatever, or you'd be like, it could be floating through, or someone wants you to either realize or worry or what have you. And part of the game is making you worry all the time, like getting a phone call from, some entity and you're like, why are they calling me? Then you'll spend like 5 days wondering why someone's trying to reach you. And you're like, there's no emergency, right? Anyway, that aside, that's a separate thing. But my point being, on the 4th Monday of January 2011, I was made to believe I'd been murdered in my apartment. It was really, really, really bad. I thought it was the last night of my life. My life changed on a dime. I have a whole shtick here. And meaning I have a whole way that I say this to help people understand. Called my sister, then called police. The police came out, acted like they were on the Andy Griffith show, barely did anything. And I was trembling and convulsing so badly. I was even scared to go out to greet them, out of my apartment to the front door of the row home in which the apartment was. And they even had a sticker on the inside of the front door. When I first moved in, they had a sticker stating, like, be careful, there's robberies, there's this, that, and the other. So that's part of the setup. So that kind of fed the idea, like, it could happen that people are breaking into row homes in this area. Be careful of your belongings and so forth and so on. In fact, I'll type that in so that people will remember. Inside of front door, beseeching people to be wary of robbers and so forth and so on. Some homes, apartments had been broken into. That fed this sign also fed the concerns. Theories? Okay. Theories. Okay. That lives were endangered. Okay. So that had been up there when I first moved in. Seemingly nice-ish area, the graduate hospital area, but still, I didn't know if it was a scare tactic or it was, it fed into everything. But when the police would show up, I didn't know how to ask them. I didn't know what else to say other than, I could barely speak as it was. I kind of don't even remember other than I knew there was a van idling in front of my apartment. In retrospect, I wondered why they didn't go down to the basement to check, because that would be like, a way to make me feel better, go into the basement, but they didn't. And in retrospect, I kind of joked with some people, or some people kind of said, God, you should have fed them milk and cookies. That's how little time they spent making you feel better or safer. So, and of course, being a certain type of person who hasn't had it easy at all. We can go through my list of jobs and all kinds of adversities and all kinds of stuff I've had to overcome in life, despite what I look like or whatever. But I'm standing there feeling like bad that I even had to call them, because I know there's really bad neighborhoods where people are a total wreck. I totally get it. But that's their beat. That's their neighborhood. They handled a certain area, so it shouldn't have been an issue to show up to this little address. But we did have signs on the inside of our doors: watch your belongings, watch yourselves, your persons, or whatever. People have been complaining of break-ins and so forth and so on. So that fed the idea that this could actually happen. So anyway, I would later the next day call my mom and aunt. I didn't call them during the night because they were older and I didn't want to worry or burden anyone. But when I did call, I got we're sorry, the phone number you're trying to reach has been disconnected. So that fed into the horror film idea as well. And if that weren't enough, the games commenced. And from then on out, all kinds of people who I contacted, no one was overly other than family. No one of the friend nearby situation. And a lot of these people claim to be from the LGBT community, and that's a community that usually, promotes supporting people or being really kind and validating. Like, something happened. We want to know if it's because you're gay, or we want to know if it's because of this, or we want to know if it's because of that. You're in the LGBT community. You got slammed because you're gay or what have you. And gay would mean lesbian, bi, gay male, trans, intersex was in there, queer, and so forth and so on. There's probably something I'm forgetting or don't know of right now, because I know they added to the acronyms, but I gave up on keeping up. So, but point being, I was heavily involved in the gay community, had dated a few people in the gay community. In fact, leading up to this, someone kept coming on to me from the gay community, but she would disappear, and that's part of gang stalking. So someone who was reeling me in, like, oh, want to do, she had been seeing someone and made it seem like she wasn't really thrilled with her partner at the time. And, oh, You want to hang out, do this. You want to go to New Hope. You want to do this. You want to do that. You want to do. I was like, oh, this person seems to like me or whatever. So back then, these days I don't care, but back then, it's like, oh my gosh, somebody actually likes me. That's an actual thing. Like someone actually is interested in me. I actually do have those feelings, you know. So I was more than happy to spend time with someone who showed interest in me. But she did play mind games here and there leading up to it, and then dropped a bomb when this happened. Instead of being supportive, it was more very unsupportive and hurtful, in fact, hateful. And she still purports to be part of the LGBT community, and in fact purports to be a therapist now in the community, which is ironic and interesting. But hey, a fake life is a fake life. So anyway, no kind words for her at this point in time. So, but point being, I was terrorized so badly, even having my mom and aunt's phone lines potentially cut, and they lived in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. By 2012, they would move to Gainesville, Florida, where they would be closer to that also plays into it. A cousin of mine probably heavily influenced his aunt to sell the house, and my mom and aunt would then move closer to my cousin in Gainesville, Florida. But see how that plays into it? All this stuff is going on. Because I called my mom a million times, and my dad. I called a lot of people in 2011 a million times because I was so amped up in PTSD mode and scared, but still kept working. My clients might not have always known unless they were participating and loved being part of it. I wouldn't know. Like, I kind of have an idea here and there, but I had to keep paying the bills. So, and this is all part of oppression and keeping people down with as many bills and as little pay as possible. That is part of gang stalking and regular oppression in general. But anyway, called my mom, we're sorry, the phone number you're trying to reach has been disconnected. So that feeds into the horror idea. But I'll go ahead and I'll wrap it up. It's day 142 of my one video each day, 365 days, trying to raise money in order to lead a life and to continue living, and even to move away from Philadelphia. I'd love to live in a smaller town, even try to earn a living in a basic, normal, peaceful way with a lot less BS, to be honest. Gainesville, Florida was a little bit better. I had my mom and aunt who felt safer, but there were things that went on there that I didn't love. But that's a very specific town or city with a university, so there's more going on there. I would even venture to go to a more privatized, quiet area, not, civilized to a point, but not so much that I have to put up any longer with. This was so bad that I know that I'm worth 60 million. Okay, so have a great day and see you on the flip side.